I'm Amy Weiner. I am a software sales advisor with Better Impact, and I've been with Better Impact for 7 years now, helping organizations in the eastern half of the U.S. learn more about our software solutions in managing their volunteers, clients, donors, and members. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Letitia and Connie to introduce themselves.
So hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Letitia Coleman. I'm a senior clinical application specialist here at JESSA. I have been here for about 2 years. I started at the height of the pandemic, and prior to that, I was at a major hospital in Washington, D.C., Howard University Hospital. My role at JESSA is to support all of our technology needs and making sure that our programs and agencies are on software solutions that meet their job needs, operationalize, create efficiencies and effectiveness. And also we want to make sure that we have customer satisfaction on all fronts.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Connie Chavarria. I supervise the hospice volunteers at JESSA. I've been with them in 2 days, it'll be 4 years. I started with them as a volunteer in 2018. I was retired from banking and got bitten by the hospice bug and quickly was recruited to be a volunteer coordinator and then was promoted to supervisor. And my job is to track, retain, and recruit volunteers for the agency.
Thanks, Connie. So some of today's takeaways should be we're going to look at the common problems facing organizations that match volunteers to clients. We'll do a quick program assessment where I will ask you a series of questions, and hopefully you will answer those questions in the chat so we can just get an idea, sense of, how many people share those problems. And then we're going to discuss why the right software tools matter. Letitia and Connie will both discuss the journey that they went through and the tips that they have for you today to successfully find the right software solution. We'll do a high-level overview, if we have enough time, of volunteer impact and client impact and how they work together. We'll have a few resources at the end and a link for you to obtain your PDU certificate for attending today. So please stick around. There are a vast array of organizations running programs where volunteers engage one-on-one with clients to deliver a service. On the screen, we've got just a couple of examples: hospices, pet therapy, therapeutic horseback riding centers, and so on. If your organization is running such a program, then you're in the right place today. So some of the common problems that are faced by organizations that run programs where volunteers engage one-on-one with clients is that, one, volunteer and client data are managed in multiple and often disconnected systems. There's unsecure methods of volunteers reporting on client interactions. For those of you attending, please put yourselves on mute. Thank you. They complain about too much data entry and not enough time to lead and engage with volunteers and clients. And then last but certainly not least, it's a tight budget. Question number 1. Which problem resonated with you most from the last slide? Was it 1, managing data in multiple and disconnected systems? Number 2, unsecure methods of volunteers reporting on client interactions? Was it 3, too much data entry? 4, not enough time to lead or engage with your volunteers or clients? Or 5, a tight budget? If all of you would just answer in chat, that will help us see what common problems we've all faced. So I see a lot of 1s, 3s, mostly 1s here. Okay. Thank you. I'll take a look at question number 2. How are you managing your volunteers currently? Is it 1, with spreadsheets? 2, you're already using a VMS? Or 3, is it something else? So there's a lot of you that are currently using a VMS. Great. Question 3. How are you managing your clients currently? Is it with 1, spreadsheet? 2, a CRM? Or 3, are you using something else? Okay. Combination here. Question 4. In your opinion, what's most at risk if a change does not happen sooner rather than later? Is it 1, volunteer turnover or disengagement? 2, client turnover or disengagement? 3, staff turnover or disengagement? Could it be 4, wasted money? 5, damage to your organization or program's reputation? Or 6, something else? Okay, so I see a lot of 4s, 1s, 5s. So there's a combination of problems that all of your organizations are facing. A lot of similarities. The solution: volunteer impact and client impact. Your all-in-one solution for managing your client-serving volunteer program. Volunteer impact is a top-rated solution, and the client impact is just an optional module. So if your organizations are seeking to bring your volunteer and client management efforts all into one platform, we'll help you find us as a solution. Did you know that more than half of all employees are unhappy at work because of the software tools they're using? Have you ever been dissatisfied at work due to missing or mismatched software? This statistic comes from G2's 2019 State of Software Happiness Report. Being provided the right tools to perform the job plays into our level of job satisfaction. When the right tools are not in place, our level of efficiency and effectiveness decrease. This is one factor that can contribute to our unhappiness in our role. About 1 in every 8 employees has quit a job because of mismatched software. The fact that this is a cited reason for people leaving a job speaks to just how important it is to outfit your employees with the right tools to do their job. Turnover is disruptive progress and the goal attainment. Let's get you and your team working with tools that make you feel less frustrated and rather more empowered and productive when you do your job. Now, let's hear from Letitia and Connie who achieve just that. Letitia, Connie,
Sorry about that. I was on mute.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
All right, everyone. So again, Connie and we're employed at the Jewish Social Services Agency. And we have been using volunteer and client impact for about 4 months now. We implemented in November of 2022. Prior to implementing Better Impact, we were using a CRM solution, Salesforce, which had a built-on volunteer module. And we also had to utilize a series of external tools such as Excels and PDFs to manage volunteers and clients. Some of the challenges that we faced with our previous system was the fact that we had to utilize several Excel spreadsheets and PDFs. We also realized that the development tool and the volunteer management tools were not being met by that software. And so a decision had been made at our agency that we needed to split those 2 software programs. So the program that they looked at for our CRM was Virtuous. And we did explore it to see if they had a volunteer management platform that would meet the needs of our agency. And we decided that it would not meet the needs of our agency. There were a couple of other volunteer management software solutions that we explored, and it turned out that they were expensive, unsecure, meaning that they were not HIPAA compliant. They were non-customizable. And of course, we're going to have several types of programs that may require customization. And so they were either non-customizable or there was a very high price to customizing that solution that may not be supported by the vendor. One of the other things tied to the HIPAA compliance is that we did not find a solution that also supported the client to volunteer as well as the client to activity association that was required for our aging in place and hospice programs. And then I'll let Connie speak if you want to talk about some of those pain points that you had experienced in that previous Salesforce application.
So yeah, one of the major ones was that because I supervise the hospice volunteers and those of us that do this work know how regulation heavy it is and audit heavy it is, I needed reporting to be much easier. It was not in our previous system and it was not customizable at all. So those were 2 of the major ones. Another thing too is it didn't offer an opportunity for volunteers to go ahead and log into the system themselves, schedule themselves, update their own profiles, and be a little bit more involved in the day-to-day admin of their own information. And that was something we wanted to move towards. We wanted to move towards a system that had an app that made it convenient. We wanted to discourage our volunteers from printing anything like their patient profiles or their patient bios. We wanted them to be able to carry these things in their phone by looking at the app for the system that we were going to pick. So we had outgrown our previous system.
Letitia, if you or Connie want to, just kind of speak to this chart here, this was created by someone on our team based on that information that you had provided.
And so I'll let Connie expand, but I'll just start with providing a summary. And so again, I'm a senior clinical application specialist at JESA. So I pretty much served as the project manager for the Better Impact implementation. And so my job was to look at all their current workflows and then migrate them into this new software that we're using today. And what I noticed is that there was a lot of heavy administrative burden based on, what they needed to do to keep up with the client profiles, keep up with the volunteer profiles, reaching out, scheduling trainings, onboarding, as well as just keeping up with the management of all those profiles. So as Connie mentioned, there wasn't a front-facing application that the volunteers could log into to manage their data. So they were constantly reaching out to our volunteer coordinators to keep all that information up to date.
Correct. So our onboarding, our system was basically one step up from paper files, literally. We had a lot of onboarding admin that was very, very time heavy. Entering volunteer hours, we had to, chase volunteers, emailing them, and then them emailing us back. Our email volume was extremely, extremely high. It just was just a time suck. And then our onboarding, especially once COVID got started, was more difficult to work out because what we had done in person before, getting things signed, getting TB tests completed, now had to be moved to a virtual environment. So it was actually a really perfect time to take the system that wasn't working for us for many reasons and just adapt it to where we were, which is what we did.
Letitia, Connie, do you want to speak to a little bit about your journey, how you arrived at finding us? I know that's a big process when you're looking for something to manage your volunteers as well as your clients.
Yes, absolutely. So as I had mentioned, I started at this agency in 2021, and I actually came in around the time where selecting a new volunteer management system was very critical to the agency. So the set of steps that we took to find the best solution for us is the agency started exploring volunteer management software solutions in 2021. The decision to move to BI was influenced by our development, IT, executive leadership, hospice, and aging in place team. So we just want to emphasize how important it is to make sure that you're including all the parties and the stakeholders that are at your agency to make sure you're making the right decision for your programs and your agency. One of the biggest problems we had was there was a misconception that the CRM was going to be able to meet our needs. And then when we had, tried to influence our executive leadership that this solution is not going to work for us, then we started turning to other application softwares. We had like our EHRs. And so it's very important that you have everybody in the room to vet this out. And how we did that is that, and I wasn't a part of that, but Connie was, as well as the rest of our programs, is there's something called user requirements. And so you go through the user stories with everyone involved and you decide what are your must-haves and what would you like to have and what are some optional things that you would like to see the software solution offer. And so that really helped us when we were doing the demos, checking off our boxes and deciding what our contenders would be. After all of those demos took place, we met back with our internal stakeholders and we went through all the demos and we selected like our top 5 or top 3 contenders. And then we explained why these were at the top of the list. And then we, came up with I think it was unanimous, Connie.
It was
We
unanimous.
came up with the unanimous decision internally that Better Impact was going to be the software solution for our agency to drive us forward with all the things that we've described in the previous slide. And then after that, we executed the quote and then we got scheduled with our implementation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really did meet a lot of our initial needs. I think that I would like to just circle back to that process that we had where we hired an agency and they came in and they basically just downloaded from all of the different teams in our agency what our needs were. It was really vital because what we ended up doing was prioritizing, and we kept up coming up with things that were really, really important, like our system in hospice had to be HIPAA compliant, whereas in other parts of our agency, that wasn't necessarily priority, which really drove the decision to split us off into doing one management system, which ended up being Better Impact, and then the rest of our agency using another management system. And like Letitia said, we did try to see if there was any way that we could better use the software that we already had, either with our HR department, with Ceridian, with our electronic medical record system that we had just also started, but there wasn't a good enough fit, and there was no appropriate place for a volunteer to participate, and that was really kind of what decided it for us.
And then some of the reasons why we selected this volunteer and client impact system is, number one, most importantly, we put this at the top of the list, it's HIPAA compliant. It offered volunteer profile management and scheduling. So not all of our volunteers, they have their own profiles, they log into their My Impact page, they can update their references, their contact information, they can schedule, they can communicate directly in a secure manner with their volunteer coordinator. And then they also have the ability to merge their profile if they're working with other agencies. So that has had such a huge impact here at our agency. The e-learning module feature, this feature is amazing, and I'm going to try to restrain myself, Amy. I don't want to go too deep, but when it goes to the scheduling components of the software, there are qualifications that drive whether or not a volunteer can see and sign up for an opportunity. And the e-learning module can update those qualifications and making sure that your volunteers are compliant when they're out participating in various opportunities. So that was something that we did not have before. Secure communications, again, very key. Like Connie stated before, not printing information, being able to view it directly in the software. The reporting tool is awesome. It's very easy and intuitive to use. It's customizable. I haven't had to call support one time to run my own report. We've also provided reports to our donor impact program here at JESA, and they have been trained on the software. So far, everyone loves it. There's a mobile app. So our volunteers, and as well as Connie and myself, we can log on to Better Impact from our phones. We don't have to go to a desktop. So that's a huge win. And then there's some integration potential. So we do start our volunteer onboarding and Better Impact, but just for agencies out there that may be starting in their HRIS system, there is a potential to import that data into Better Impact. So just something to keep in mind. Another huge win for us, we did have social media presence before with our Salesforce system, but this is more embedded. So that's awesome. And I don't want to emphasize again, customization, customization, customization. So we can create as many fields as we want. We can associate them to various programs. And so it's just awesome.
I also just want to say really quickly that all of these features are really great. And, when we would go to demos, we'd hear people say very similar things to what Letitia and I are saying. And I'd be like, okay, great, but I am so not tech savvy. I mean, who's going to do this for me? Meanwhile, we had really strong training from the Better Impact team. And then what ended up happening was Letitia and I ended up building a lot of it ourselves because it's incredibly user-friendly. And if you can copy and paste a link, you can build your entire infrastructure in this system. So I can't emphasize that enough. For those of us that are not necessarily, computer savvy and really, really familiar with IT, this is something that you will be able to do. If I can do it, anybody pretty much can. So the results.
You want to take this one?
Yeah. So we chose to take the client module as well as the volunteer module. We're doing both. And the reason why is because as many other hospice volunteer coordinators understand, the matches are really magical. So you want to make sure that you're able to safely put in patients into the system and match them to volunteers by their location, by different criteria. And so us keeping a HIPAA compliant system that we could access, that our volunteers could access, that was safe for us to communicate within was really important. So that was a huge, huge benefit. We did reduce the admin burden because Better Impact ended up being incredibly easy to integrate with our onboarding platform, which is Relias, another system that we use. We were able to embed the two. So that reduced an incredible amount of time because what Letitia said, that the e-learning module within Better Impact gives the qualifications automatically. So it's less numbers and less qualifications that we have to enter manually. So the admin time was reduced. We don't have to log hours. The volunteers are able to log into their profile and log their own hours. They they can clock in and clock out on their own. We can do groups if we want to. It's really been amazing. So a lot less admin time and more time recruiting and actually just meeting with our volunteers and interacting with them, which is valuable. And they're very happy. They really like it. One of them likened it to them being able to kind of stop the line in that they have an investment in their own profile and they can access all their own information. So they feel like they have a little bit more control over their activities and their contribution to our agency, which is very important. So yeah, no brainer. Before, and I would actually say that before Better Impact, I don't even know how, I didn't realize how ineffective I was until we started really looking at these numbers. I feel like since we implemented this, and we haven't even had it 6 months really going live, the tap has opened on our onboarding. Our pipeline is very intense right now. And I think that it's directly to speaks to the fact that we're able to recruit so much more and have so much more time interacting than we did before.
Thank you so much, Letitia and Connie. What would you say if you had to pick 3 of your top favorite can't do without features of the software? What would you say that those are?
I'll take the first one, Connie. Customization.
Mm-hmm. HIPAA compliance, the app, that it's easy to build out for someone who isn't super tech savvy. It's accessible.
Great. Now, have either of you had to ask questions in our support chat?
Yes.
Yes. I knew them all by name, actually.
Yeah.
They're really friendly. They're very quick. Screenshots that I end up putting into my guides that I write for the user guides. Very supportive. And if you get busy and distracted and don't go back to the chat, they end up following up by email. It's just a really nice team of people, some of whom I've met during the training part. So it's been very nice.
And I just want to share with everyone that Connie and I are not exaggerating. The full customer service experience and satisfaction throughout the beginning, when we started with sales, all the way through implementation, has been incredible. The support team is amazing. The help that they have built into Better Impact, you can either watch a video, or if you're a person who likes to read step by step, they're amazing. Our implementation consultant was amazing. And that's one of the reasons why we have been so successful. And I've worked with tons of applications over the last 2 decades. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the best support, group of support people that I've worked with. And I truly mean that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you both so much. Now, before we get to Q&A, because we do have a little bit of time here, I'm going to switch it up here just a little bit. And I'm going to share a couple of things about our software. So bear with me for just a moment here. Okay. So this, for those of you who haven't seen it, is what we call the home screen. So this would be an admin's view. And at a glance, I've got a bunch of information here that is designed to create efficiencies, accuracies, and it certainly mitigates risk because it is all stored in one safe HIPAA compliant space. So what you're seeing here with these green bubbles, this will let me know how many new applicants I have, my in-process people, and just with a click of my mouse, I'm able to view those applications. And then if I want to view my clients, I can do that as well. I can take a look at their applications online. So if I wanted to send these new applicants an email, I could do that, but I could also have the software send it out automatically, because I can create automatic email messaging for people to receive when they fill out that online application. Because if I filled out another form, the chances are I want to know, what do I do now? So I could also, from this spot, change them to in process, to accepted, just depending on what my process looks like. On my homepage, I also have a series of alert tabs. So those alert tabs are going to tell me if I have qualifications to approve. If I happen to have volunteers on the clock, I can see when they started their time clock and where exactly they are. So it'll tell me what activity or what client they have signed in with. So I could send her a text message from here. I could send an email. And then speaking to that customization part of things, when your volunteers look at their portal, whether they're accessing that through a web browser or if they happen to be using the app on their smartphone, and from that app, they can also take e-learning training if you're providing that for them. They can start their time clock. So if I switch to user view, and you can see I can toggle back and forth as an administrator, which is really nice. Then customization, your banner, your branding, so it looks and feels like your website. Your public page could also have this ability. So just whatever your banner happens to look like, social media, because people tend to live in that social space. And then news that you want to share with your volunteers, because it's so critical to stay connected. When I switch back to admin view, you're able to see those pin searches. So this is unique to the user. These are things that you want to get to quickly. So if I needed to reach out to everybody who, for example, has a background check expiring, I could do that quickly because I created the search. And as that search changes, as that criteria changes, because new people have background checks expiring, then that information within the search will also change. So if I select that, then I can easily pull from templates, which are also designed to save me time. And then I can send that email. When you send those emails, it's going to keep a history of everything that you send out so that you can report upon it. Connie and Letitia had mentioned the reporting. Anything that you enter into the database is searchable. It's also reportable as well. And then the support, which if you talk to every single one of our clients, they would probably all mention. Not only is the software easy to use and intuitive, but the support is readily available. It's 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then periodically on weekends and holidays. So all done via chat. But if you need a phone call and need someone to pull up your account, troubleshoot with you, look at things from your lens, they're happy to do that as well. And so now I'm going to switch back to our PowerPoint and open the floor up for questions. If you want to type those into the chat, since we have so many people on today's call, that's probably going to be the easiest way to get your questions answered.
And there's a question that came in, I think it's from Ann Rogers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hampton. And so she asked two questions: what procedure we're using to get the volunteers encounter report into the system, and whether or not we've embedded our LMS link into Better Impact e-learning module. So I'll take the second question, and then Connie, I'll let you dive into number one. So yes, we did build in our e-learning module, our Relias URL in our e-learning module. And so what it does is it takes them out to Relias, but we put in a series of instructions within the e-learning module. They go out, they take the quiz, and then they're given the qualification in the software.
Also, something that I've done also is create an activity, and within that activity, create a link and that link goes directly to the Relias course I want them to take, HIPAA basics, privacy rule, whatever I need them to take. So they log into their Better Impact, they go to the activity list, and they see whatever's available for them or due for them to take. And they'll go in and they'll click on it, and that'll take them into their Relias platform, which they all have usernames and login credentials to. That's what we do. But to answer Ann's question about how we do our visit notes is I think what she was referencing. I can't see the chat right now. Basically, they email their visit notes. We're not using the Better Impact system right now to get the visit notes, but we're going to be doing that very, very soon through a job form.
Okay. All right, so we do have quite a few here. From Donna, she asked, we use Better Impact for our volunteers. The volunteers that lead walking tours are able to schedule themselves for tour days. Walking tour tickets are in a completely different system. Does Better Impact have a way to combine those functions? Let's see. So if I understand you correctly, your walking tickets, you're managing that. Is it a ticket taking software that you're using for that? Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, they're paid tickets. So what happens is the volunteers schedule themselves, and I have to schedule them into the ticket thing to show that there's a tour available. People buy tickets, but then, you know, they're just I'm just doing it twice. So is there any kind of a ticket selling function or anything that you can combine?
So there's not a ticket selling function within the software. If you wanna schedule with me, Donna, we can kind of troubleshoot, brainstorm, and see if we can come up with a way. But as far as like a ticket integrating with a ticket selling software, we do not.
Okay.
Is there a way, Amy, that could be the link to that ticket selling software could be included in that post description of the tour that they sign up as the activity?
It could be. I mean, if that would help you,
do.
Donna, then definitely.
Yeah.
Because you can include links as well as video images within that. So I mean, if that would help you, then yes. Thanks, Letitia. You can include those links both in the pre-assigned and then post-assigned description.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll look at that. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Just a
Then
quick answer, clients able to book one-on-one appointments. Depends on the clients. We have hospice patients, so we don't use it in that capacity, but Amy can answer whether or not. I'm sure they can.
So as far as clients being able to schedule themselves, they can't. The way that it functions, you can use it in two ways, two fashions. So if you create an activity, then you can assign that, you can assign a client to that, associate a client to that activity. And when you do that, then the hours attributed to the activity as well as any feedback provided would go into that client's profile. But as far as the client being able to schedule that, they're unable to actually schedule or sign up for an appointment within the software. Doesn't mean that they can't share their, what works best for them, and then creating those schedules around that. Mary asks, we use better impact for our volunteers, but not our clients. How would we be able to look at the client impact part? So Mary, I can send you, if you want to, let me know your email address. I can send you more information about client impact as far as how that integrates. But you're more than welcome to have a trial of because volunteer impact and client impact are designed to work together. So we don't disrupt your current process, then you can always create a trial account and use client impact within that, so that you get a good feel and understanding of how those work together. And then I'm happy to help you navigate that, that situation, just so that you can see how you can use it to create that connection between your volunteers and your clients.
I wanted to answer Samantha, I believe it was Samantha Gutierrez's question about the DocuSign. We're actually doing that right now. We have to get their annual conflict of interest and a lot of other HR forms signed, and I have it set up as an activity with a link. And then they go into their profile and they go into the activity and click on the link, fill out the form and submit, and it comes back to me automatically. So yes, you can definitely do that. It's really easy to set up.
Okay. Wendy from Indianapolis Public Library wanted to know if I could show a client match. So we can. So if we are looking at a client match, I'm going to pull up a client in our fictitious example world. And you'll be able to see from Katie's profile this connections piece. So that is it's going to show me a couple of things. Number one, if you want your volunteers to be able to see notes, nothing that would violate anything privacy related, but information that's going to help them provide better service, then you can include that here. You can also see what volunteers have been associated with them, hours associated, as well as encounters. And then just to speak to that whole customizable piece again, you can create those reportable questions that your volunteers would answer if they are logging an encounter from a client that they have paired with. So, Wendy, does that help?
Oh, that's awesome.
Perfect. Rachel wants to know if you can set up an application for clients too. Yes, you can. And then track data by percentage for specific client groups. Can you clarify a little?
Yes, I'm wondering, like, specifically for tracking students, for donors looking at grants, if they want to know what percentage of our students may have autism, or what percentage are in a certain age demographic. Is it easy to get those numbers like on a chart?
Absolutely. So you can pull that data into a raw data report, because a good rule of thumb in the software is if you enter it in, you can pull that into a report. And so if you want something specific like that, then I would advise pulling that into a raw data report, because it will let you indicate exactly what you need from that report. And then the software will help you create lovely charts and graphs to illustrate it.
Okay, and my other question that was helpful is there a place to track like student progress reports for goal setting for like therapeutic writing students who come on a weekly basis and we want to track goals for them?
You want to track goals for the client or for your volunteers?
The clients.
Okay, so for the client, you could actually within their, because they do have access to their own client portal. It's just that that feedback can help you communicate goals, because when your volunteers are logging hours or they're logging encounter responses, then all of that data that feeds into that client's profile would allow you to track and then create those goals for them going forward. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure, because like what I'm thinking of is like, is there a way that I could put in like a sample lesson plan under that student's database that like another instructor could pull up their form and look in
Yes.
to find the lesson plan?
Absolutely, because you can create private note logs that other admins can then have access to. And so then that would be a great place for you to house that information to make it visible to those other admins. And then
Okay,
you can
that's
see
helpful.
when that's entered in, because it's all date and time stamped, and it'll show what admin entered that information.
Okay, all right, thank you, that's helpful.
Perfect. Thank you. Samantha wants to know if we need volunteers to sign policies and practices. Okay, so we've gotten to the DocuSign question.
We use Jotform, we don't use DocuSign, but anything that gives you the ability to take a link and place it someplace so that people can access it will work. And I'm sure DocuSign probably does that. But you just set it up as an activity. You tell them in the description what you want them to do. The system prompts you where to put the URL. You can change what it's called or what the volunteers see when they click on it. Make it very simple and give instruction, and then they click on it. We end up using Jotform, but DocuSign is just another typical software that is used for that.
Someone's phone is ringing in the background. That makes it kind of hard for other people to hear the conversation. If you could mute yourselves when you're not speaking, that would be helpful. Event registration, yes, you can. As far as event registration, that is, if you're looking for something to manage that, you would create that event as an activity. As long as they're a volunteer, then they can sign up for an activity that is made visible to them based on their status, based on any qualifications. And then if it's a public event that everybody in your database can see, then you would be able to track and manage those signups. Terry, does that answer your question?
Sorry, yes, I actually put that in there when the person was asking about the ticketing, buying tickets. But it doesn't allow them to buy tickets, so.
Oh, okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding that. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Helena wants to know, is the email encrypted? Is it safe to share the patient's information? No, it is not safe to share it doesn't matter what program you have. If information leaves via email, and it leaves the system, then that is never a good idea. Okay, and we've talked about client goal progression, and then Anne, hospice, where they print to PDF the encounter client report that the volunteer filled out in Better Impact, and the volunteer coordinator uploads that. Yep, we make it very easy.
Yeah.
If you can, if it's in your database, we make it very easy to print it as well as export it.
One other thing I wanted to mention is that Better Impact has this great feature called the document library, where you can keep a lot of your policies and procedures and things that you want the volunteers to see, or things that you want other administrators to see that you don't want the volunteers to see, you can determine. So it's great for keeping policies.
Absolutely. Samantha wants to know if we need volunteers to sign policies. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Trial account, absolutely. Our trial is for 30 days, and during that 30 days, you can add as many administrators to that trial account as you want. We don't charge by administrator, and we are happy for everyone to get the experience of trialing the software. That's really how you determine if it's going to work and how it's going to work for your organization. And during the trial, feel free to use support, schedule with your software sales advisor in your area so that you can get those questions answered. Okay. Yes, everybody will get a copy of the recording. And then also, I want to make sure that everybody has had a chance to get that that link here for your PDU certificate, so that if you are attending and you need those that certificate or those continuing ed credits, that you'll get those. The cost to add client impact, volunteer impact, it really depends on your organization. For a standard account, it's $600 per year to add client impact, the volunteer impact. For an enterprise, it just depends on your organization setup, and I'm happy to discuss that with anyone after the call. We can set up some time. My scheduling link will also be provided to you. So if you want to schedule with me, if you want to shoot me an email with any questions that you didn't ask, that you need answers to, or if we didn't, if I didn't completely answer your question for you and you want to have a conversation about that in a one-on-one, please feel free to shoot me an email at amy@betterimpact.com. Want to make sure that we get all of those questions answered, but we're wrapping up here today. And I certainly appreciate Letitia and Connie. Thank you so very much for connecting with me and your willingness to share your journey as well as your experiences using our software. I'm sure that people attending found that very helpful to hear from someone that was once in that situation of vetting software. And to all of you attending, thanks a bunch. I really appreciate it. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. Our team's happy to get those answered for you.
Thank you for having us, Amy. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.